Welcome, everyone, to One Stage at a Time, the podcast where we play through a video game one stage at a time, every stage, bar none. Today, and as of the last few, we're playing Super Mario Brothers for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm Aaron Neeson.
I'm Andy Prim.
And we are joined by a special guest today. He was here on the last podcast, and he's stuck around for this one. Mike Votaw, welcome.
Hi, glad to still be here.
We're glad to still have you. That sounded more like a question than a statement.
Yeah. Like, would I have had time to leave? I don't know.
They really don't know how long we've been here.
Yeah,
It
they
been
don't.
6 months since the last
You know,
recording
You
session.
might have been just hiding in Andy's
Guys, I
attic.
mean, yeah, like my wife's called like a lot in the last few days.
You have no wife. You live here.
Mike is a prisoner in the recording
You
studio.
play Mario, and that's what you do.
Well, today on the pod, we're talking about World 2-2 of Super Mario Brothers.
Indeed we are. Indeed we
So,
are.
Mike, we literally just watched you play this stage. What
Yeah.
did you think of World 2-2?
Before we get in that, we get into that, you last episode you talked about how much trouble you've had,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That did happen on air.
I
right?
recall that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You talked about how much trouble you had, and you mentioned something about an emulator.
Yeah.
Today you played World 2-2 on the Nintendo Switch,
Right.
a non-emulated version. It might be some sort of emulation,
Yeah.
but
I mean, it is.
it's an
still
official
emulated
version put out by
Yeah.
Nintendo,
Right.
Yeah.
optimized for Nintendo.
Right.
Tell us about the differences here.
It's way better. So what I was playing it on at my house was just some random emulator for my, homebrew channel on my Wii, and it apparently is just not very good. I don't know. I need to look into that when I get home. But it's way easier when you press a button and the character actually does the thing and doesn't wait like a half second to do it.
That always helps.
Yeah, it does.
It's useful to have input
Yeah.
response.
Yeah, it's crazy how much like even just like the tiniest amount of input lag can mess up in the experience of a video game or something like that.
Yeah, no kidding. Andy and I had this experience at my house.
Yep.
Because I had my Switch set up, and he came over and we played some video games, and he said, "What is wrong with your TV and your Switch?"
Oh, no.
And I
was
said,
losing,
"What do you
and
mean?"
I don't like to lose.
I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "There is a ridiculous amount of lag."
Yeah.
And I said, sometimes I feel like there is,
Yeah.
but I had been playing so long that I had just sort of naturally started compensating for it. And so Andy was like, after a few minutes, Andy was like, "I can't play like this." like he was a battered spouse saying, "I can't live like this." Let me out. So he and I dug into my TV systems and found the right way to set it up in order to play.
Yeah.
And everything was gravy after
you
that.
Probably, there's all sorts of like processing filters and stuff you have to turn off.
Yeah.
Now, I think the other lesson
with
from
that,
this story, Mike, is piracy is wrong.
Yes. Yeah, right. Actually, yeah.
And you should
Nintendo,
always purchase the official
you should
release.
just come arrest me now. I absolutely. I repent.
You can't see this, folks, but he's literally hanging his head in shame. He had his head down, eyes down.
I think he's getting ready to commit seppuku.
I was going to put a hair shirt on. I mean, then we're a couple guys. We're not going to go that far. This is a family podcast. Yeah.
Well, let's get into World 2-2 of Super Mario Brothers.
Yes, this one's radical.
It's a departure for sure. Mike, what did you think of World 2-2?
So honestly, hot take maybe. I really, really hate water levels in games.
Ooh,
No one's ever said that before.
Go off, King.
I've never liked these levels in Mario games. They're just like way too slow for me. Even though like I was able to beat this level in like 45 seconds when when the controller's like working right, turns out.
I don't disagree. Water stages are usually kind of a low point for me
Yeah.
in these kinds of games.
They fill me with dread. Like, I see a water stage, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, they're usually few and far between, and this game is no exception.
Mm-hmm.
There are very few water stages in this game.
Mm-hmm.
There may only be 2. We'll have to get an official count later, but yeah, there's this board that we just played through.
I kind of wish you hadn't told me that. Like I really do, because like I would have been. I honestly was about to start dreading a water level per world, and now you told me that, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess one more will show up later, and here we are.
Well, spoiler alert. That's what you get on this show.
Stop
Lots
spoiling
of spoilers.
stuff.
We're spoiling a game that came out in 1985, folks.
Listen, I was born in '86. I never experienced it.
But it's there are very few water stages in this game. I don't know if it's because they just felt less comfortable with the programming of these stages, or if they thought they might be like too much of a lull from the normal action stages. But yeah, that's what you get. There are these are really the only stages where you don't have the same gameplay as the normal stages. Like it's the only ones where you're not running and jumping and platforming. You're swimming, which is a totally different move set, really.
Yeah. And the physics are totally different, and what Mario can do and what the enemies can do is totally different. And it was interesting to relive it. This particular because it's different than I remember.
Yeah.
And it's different from Mario games that followed.
For sure.
Yeah, because in this game, Mario sinks like a stone.
Yeah, he really
Definitely.
does. Yeah, right.
Like Super Mario World, he's very buoyant. Like he sinks slowly. In this game, he drops hard.
Yeah.
Definitely. And there's the interesting bottomless pits with the currents that suck you down.
Were there currents in this one?
Yeah, if you go into
you can't see them though.
Yeah, I was going to say
You
usually
can't
there's
see
bubbles.
It's an
other
invisible
ones,
current.
Yeah.
Now, I disclaimer: I watched Mike play this. I didn't play through it myself, so I didn't feel the current.
Yeah.
I should. I'll start playing through it myself. But so I was like, there were currents. I saw the bottomless pits, but I didn't see the currents. And usually I feel like it was them pushing you up, but this one sucked you in, huh?
Sucks you down, yeah. It'll pull you into the pit if you're standing beside it, and then it'll suck you straight down. You can escape, like there's coins down there that kind of tempt you, but you're liable to get sucked in if you go after them.
Yeah, that'll happen. Yeah.
It's interesting. I feel like later water stages are, they can be challenging, but they're kind of like relaxing in a way. Like if you think of like Dire Docks from Mario 64 with that really relaxing theme song.
And the terrifying eel.
The eel
monstrous
nightmares.
The monstrous eel
with its soulless eyes.
Glad you found it relaxing.
I mean, what I'm trying to say is like
No. I understand what you're saying. Especially like that stage with the music was very, I remember reading an anecdote on Reddit where somebody said that they were playing at a funeral. They were playing piano. They were a piano player. They were playing at a funeral, and or it might have been a wedding or something, and they were playing before. They were playing at some sort of event where people are dressed nice, and it's a very proper event. And they ran out of music in their head to play, so that was for the event, and so they started playing the theme from Dire Docks. And somebody came up and complimented them, saying that was beautiful.
Whoa,
That's amazing. Wow,
right on.
That's great.
Well, because this is such an original level, why don't we get into some firsts for this stage?
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
So this is the first appearance of the now legendary underwater theme. This comes back in many future Super Mario games. It's the first appearance of bloopers.
The fish.
One of the fish. We see 2 types of fish in this stage. The blooper is the squid-like enemy.
I thought those were called inkies or something.
Inky, no. I'm not sure what an inky is, but these are bloopers.
Okay, bloopers. Oh, excuse me.
And then we have the fish, the Cheep Cheeps.
Cheep Cheeps, that's what they're called.
It's also the...
There's a car.
Fish don't make that sound. That doesn't make any sense.
It's like Arrested Development.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a chicken?
And of course, in the Midwest area, there's... famous chain of liquor stores called Dirt Cheap.
Yeah,
And
cheap.
the local advertising is cheap, cheap, fun, fun.
Yeah.
Are they still around? I think they went out of business.
Dude, I
don't
wouldn't know.
It's neither here nor
Rip
there,
in
but-
peace, though.
Yeah, R.I.P. in peace.
We're based out of St. Louis, in case anybody was wondering.
We're Midwest boys.
Indeed.
Also, this is the first appearance of the underwater coral tile set, which is another tile set I quite like.
Yeah.
So, I also got some stats for this stage. It's a short stats for this stage, actually.
Yeah.
Coins, 28. Everything
So-
else we track is 0. There's 0 power-ups.
power-ups.
There's nothing
0
to
one-ups.
do in this level.
Yeah, there's
That's
really
what
nothing going
I think
on.
I don't like about it. It's just like if you don't come into it having the flower power, you just have to avoid the enemies.
Yeah, that's
And-
true. Having flower power makes this stage totally different because you
Yeah.
can just wipe all these guys
Yeah.
out.
Even then, it's still hard because like if you're not used to the way
physics.
that the physics work, and
Yeah.
And
Listen,
like the angle of the fireballs.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
guys, I'm sorry. All right. I played 2-1. I lost us the fire flower. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah,
it really is like you can't kill any enemies without the fire
you
flower.
just have to avoid them.
You just have to avoid
Yeah.
them.
It feels almost tacked on in a way. Like
really
they
does.
it seems like they wanted to do underwater, but they maybe didn't put enough resources into it to make it as complete as it could be. And that might explain like why it feels kind of, I don't know, Spartan, and why there's so few underwater stages in the game.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just like an experimentation. Because I mean, like I can't. I don't know. I can't imagine there were underwater specific levels that in games previous.
I can't
Like,
think of any
yeah.
major ones.
Yeah, like especially like if there was an underwater game, then everything would be an underwater
sure.
feel, underwater physics, underwater control. This one was a platformer where you jump and run and stomp on things, and then it shifted to underwater. So like I'm just something we should probably look up later, but I wonder if this was one of the first games that really changed the gameplay on you, just like that.
Yeah.
After you've played for a while.
It might be. We'll get the research
can't-
department on
yeah.
it, but
I
yeah, this
mean-
might be the first example of what you're talking about.
Maybe. I really don't know.
I mean, but this game came out like what you said, the 85 or something
85,
like
yeah.
that. But it's only like a year or two into the the Famicom release. So it's
Right.
it wasn't a launch title. Like I assume it was a launch title for the NES.
I think
I don't
that's
know if
right.
it was,
I think it was a
but,
launch title
but
for
it
the
wasn't
NES.
For the Famicom.
That's-
I was
yeah, that's
reading
right.
about it earlier.
For those who don't know, the Famicom is
yeah.
what it was called in Japan.
Short for family computer.
Right.
which
When it was released.
not a computer. But
technically.
Well,
I mean,
it had chips.
It
and-
wasn't like a Commodore 64 or something like you couldn't.
That's
it wasn't
true.
A computer.
Yeah,
you
it
know, in the
specifically
prop-
did not have a lot of those features like a disk drive.
What was I saying? Sorry.
You were saying that was
Yeah,
not a
it
release
just-
title. It was
Yeah, but it was still pretty early on into the development of that console and everything. So it
and before the Famicom came out, you had only things like Atari?
Yeah.
Like not anything that
Atari,
could handle
Commodore
a change of
64,
gameplay like that.
Yeah, like there was actually quite a few home consoles that came out, but none of them are very major. Like you wouldn't know their names unless you were interested in like the history of video games.
Right, and they certainly didn't have
none
much
of them-
processing power.
yeah, none of them were anything like this at all. Yeah.
No, not at all. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they would throw such a big shift in gameplay at you, and like even though we're kind of, I don't know, maybe not as thrilled by this stage now, like I have to imagine it was like a big deal back then that you would suddenly just be underwater and you're swimming, and it's a totally different kind of stage.
Yeah. I wonder for how long people swam up to the top in order to get a breath, or if it even crossed their minds in
interesting. Yeah.
1985.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's-
back then believed you could breathe underwater, didn't
Funny.
they?
It's interesting to note though that Mario can hold his breath infinitely. in this
Unlike
game.
certain
Unlike
hedgehogs.
yeah,
that we know.
you-
Yeah.
But they share something
Yeah.
in common in that they both, when they're underwater, release bubbles. They both release bubbles. So
Oh,
Mario was releasing bubbles the entire time he was underwater.
I didn't notice that. That's
He never
interesting.
drowned. It's cool animation. It's cool little animation that they toss in there. It's a nice flair. Unless they added it for the Switch release, which I
I find that
maybe,
unlikely.
but yeah, it's unlikely. I would imagine. But yeah, no, he's under there. He's releasing bubbles, and if I started playing him, and I admittedly was a Sonic kid, so I have it in my head that you drown when you're underwater for some reason. If I was thrown into this and I didn't know that Mario could breathe underwater forever, I would be heading to the top every few seconds to try and get a breath. Yeah. But not necessary. Mario is a star child, and he apparently has gills.
That's right. Yeah, he lives infinitely. He can never die. He's immortal. Yeah. He's a magic being.
That's something from the corrections department that we didn't talk about. He is a star child. I looked it up. Thanks to some of the Yoshi Island games, they reclassify Mario and Peach and Donkey Kong and Wario as star children.
Which Yoshi Island game are you talking about here?
I don't remember.
Because
one of them.
There's 3 Yoshi Island games, and some of them are pretty wild with the lore and the gameplay. Like Yoshi's Island DS is pretty much forgotten these days. People don't really talk about that game anymore. And then Yoshi's New Island doesn't fare much better. Like they're both kind of lost to the mists of history in a way.
Well, when are we going to talk about the elephant in the room?
Which is?
The elephant in the room is Mario canon a real thing in the Mario games?
Of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Because there's the very, very distinct possibility that they're all actors, and this is all plays or movies or things of that nature.
Now you're just talking crazy.
On the Mario 3 sort of...
Mario 3... Mario Odyssey, statements by Shigeru Miyamoto, the fact that Mario 2 is all a dream, the fact that they all go-karting together, the fact that they all play tennis together.
Right. Yeah, it's this really strange world where it's like the old Looney Tunes cartoon when the dog and the whatever would be fighting, but then at the end of the day they'd clock out.
Right.
And go,
Exactly.
Get a drink. Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of stuff in the games and in statements by creators and Nintendo personnel to support the idea that Mario and Luigi and Peach and Bowser and Toad are all actors. Are all actors or stage players or something thereof, putting this all on for show.
You know, there's certainly evidence, like you mentioned Mario 3, how the curtain opens at the beginning. Other games like Yoshi's Island or Paper Mario also use the storybook format.
In Mario 64, there's Lakitu's following you around with a camera.
With a camera, yeah.
A camera filming everything you do.
Well, he's filming for Mushroom Kingdom TV.
Oh, is he?
Because Mario's a hero. Yeah. And they want to record his exploits.
But Mushroom Kingdom TV is functioning while Bowser supposedly controls everything. And Lakitu's a bad guy, supposedly. So, I mean,
kinda. Whoa.
Just saying.
You can't label all Lakitus as bad guys, Aaron.
He's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm saying is that if we're gonna label Yoshi's Island as way out there, but then consider other things canon, like
okay, that's fair.
That's my entire point here. But this is a topic that we should revisit at another day.
All right. So based on Yoshi's Island, we've got some conflicting evidence. Yoshi's Island suggests that they're star children.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. I don't know what that means, actually.
Yeah, what does that mean, Aaron?
Child?
A star child is it's. I'm not. I haven't played the game. I just read the wiki. It's the fan made stuff.
The Super Mario wiki.
Yeah,
which is canon and should not be questioned.
Never should be questioned. It basically says that they're star children, meaning that they have special abilities. They're able to utilize items in a different in a unique way, and they're Mario's a fat little dude, but he's got a triple jump.
Right. Yeah.
and Donkey Kong and Wario and Bowser. No, is Bowser is a star child. I don't know. But anyways, they have special powers, and they're able to do things that humans cannot. Which, as we saw in Super Mario Odyssey, there are humans in the Mario universe.
Those could just be like another race, though.
Maybe, I guess. But
well, I should tell you, our researchers have uncovered further evidence to the contrary. According to the Mario Comics system, released in 1990, According to the legend, the preface that would begin each issue of the Mario comics system, Mario and Luigi are in a building it's not really explained where it is, but it looks like it's like a modern USA building, and they hear through the pipe Peach calling for help, and they spring into action and travel to the Mushroom Kingdom. So, take that for what you will, but that's the Mario comics system from 1990.
That's interesting.
Well, if we're counting Mario comics, we got to count the Mario movie
and the Mario TV show.
And the Mario TV show.
Of course. The Super Mario Brothers Super Show is my number one source for Mario lore, and I will be rewatching every episode of it.
Yes, as you should. It's quality television, right? I couldn't even say it with a straight face. I remember being like strangely traumatized by that show as a child, because I saw one episode where there was like a starfish monster in the live action section of the show.
I love that show.
It's so
the live action segments.
And it could have been made up in my brain, but I remember them trying to sweep it out, and it looked just horrifying.
Oh, I'm sure it's true. Those live action segments were insane.
I just can't believe that they got made. I don't know.
Amazing. First run syndication.
Yeah.
Well, since we've been talking about lore, I want to throw a few quick lore corner questions at y'all. And these have to do with our friend the Blooper. Introduced in this stage, the Blooper is credited by a different name in the manual for Super Mario Brothers. What is the name he is credited under?
Squidward.
Steve? I don't know.
Wrong and wrong.
Wait, hang on.
Under so
it's
what,
I'll give you a little hint.
Yeah.
The name he's credited under is very close to the name we know him as today.
Bloopy?
Nope. It's one letter is changed.
Blooper.
You're very close. Bloober. He's credited as the Bloober. I don't know if it's typo or if they changed it later, but we've got bloobers, baby.
He is error.
That's right. Okay, a little bit more about the Blooper. What is his Japanese name?
I don't want to make a guess. That's just
It's not even really lore.
asking for trouble to make a guess at his Japanese name.
Well, he's called the Gesso in Japanese.
I was so close by saying I don't want to make a guess.
Which just means squid, I believe. Okay, but here's an actual question.
Is he a denizen of the Mushroom Kingdom or the Koopa Kingdom?
That's unclear. He would seem to serve Koopa since he battles Mario.
Is the water their own domain?
I know.
Well, we've seen nice
Mario
bloopers in the Mario games.
Mario just kind of jump into the ocean and swim.
Yeah. The bloopers just defending his home.
Doing their thing,
I mean, we've seen nice Bob-ombs and nice Koopas too, though.
That's true. Yeah.
Especially in Mario 64.
So it's unclear. I don't know.
It's unclear.
And bloopers don't have much of a language. They mostly just say bloop.
And they're inexpressive.
Right.
They don't have angry eyes like the little Goombas.
Yeah, maybe sometimes. But here's another question. Can bloopers survive out of water?
I'm going to... I know that Cheep Cheeps can for a little while. I'm going to say no. That they cannot.
I mean, they show up as power-ups in Mario Kart, so they can survive long enough to be packaged in a box that you can then open and then use to blind your opponents.
That's an excellent point.
But I don't know that they're actually alive at that point. I don't know.
they're just a mindless weapon. Yeah. I'm gonna stick with no, though.
Well, the answer is yes. They absolutely can survive out of water. We've seen numerous instances of floating or hovering bloopers. First of all, in Super Mario Brothers 2, or I should say the Lost Levels, the Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2. But many instances since then, we have seen many flying bloopers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's unclear if they're actually fish or if they need to breathe or if they need water to survive. Octopi.
They can survive out of water for at least a little while, right?
But can they fly?
But they're not. I mean, they're not.
If
like they have to live in water. Like I can survive underwater for a little while, But I get what you're saying, though.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know if octopi can fly. I've never seen one.
There's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
Put him behind the wheel of a plane.
That's true.
Give him the stick.
Oh, no, this is going to end up worse than
They're
that Denzel
so-
Washington movie.
They are so smart. I bet they could do it.
Again, there's only one way to find out.
I support this.
They wouldn't
Call the
even need a
Mythbusters.
co-pilot. They've got all those
They're
arms.
gonna bust that.
They don't even, that's right. They don't need a
Yeah.
co-pilot either.
They can just reach all the levers. All right, y'all. Well, I had some history, but I think we might save that for next time.
Yeah. This is. I think we're at a good stopping point here. The water level. This was a misery.
We're glad to be done with it. We're
It was
going to be
fortunately short-lived. Yeah.
We're going to towel off and meet you back here for World 2-3. Mike, will you stick around for World 2-3?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I'll be around.
Very good.
Excellent. Sounds good. Thank you for listening, everybody. Find us on Facebook and on
the
Instagram
Twitter. We're
and
at
Twitter.
one stage at a time on Twitter.
Just find us everywhere.
Find
we're
us
out
everywhere.
there. We're in
We'll
the
see you
ether. We're
around
in your
on
ear.
the internets.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Say bye, Mike.
Bye.
Mean it.
Bye.
Good job.